Okay, part 3, continue with the candidate for mayor, Matthew Hayes.
Going to continue to grill me here.
Oh, yeah, that's all right. Sorry, no, I think we're doing pretty good. Yeah, doing very good. Just relaxing.
We're getting down there.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We should do this in about 5 hours from now. Okay, what do you see, Fredericton, as mayor? What would be your first duty? What would you encourage that's not here now? What would you do different?
Well, in addition to some of the things that I've already talked about, one thing that we really need to work on is the public transit system. So we've had a transit review.
It's not good?
Pardon me?
It's not good?
Well, right now the transit system is intended to cover as much of the city as possible, but it doesn't actually provide incentives for people to use the transit. So it's not practical. It's not very convenient. As you were saying earlier, it doesn't go to the social service building on the north side, for instance, which is I think a big problem.
Yeah.
But in addition, if you're living in Devon and let's say you work on Main Street, it's faster to walk than it is to take the bus because you got to come to King's Place on the south side first.
Yep.
That doesn't make sense. So we need to have bus routes that are designed practically for the way that people get around in the city. We have to think about what incentives can we provide to get more people using the bus. And I think in addition to the kind of hub and spoke system that we have now, we should either redesign it or, if possible, if there's money available, if we can go and find matching funds elsewhere from the federal provincial governments, expand it so that we have rapid routes that get people from where they live to where they regularly go. If you take a look at the bus routes that are most successful in Fredericton, they're 11, 13, 15, and 16. Those 4 routes go up to Prospect Street. Some of them go by the university.
Yeah, very true.
So how could we get more people using those routes? I think one way of doing it would be to make it, rather than an hour between services, you would try to shrink that to hopefully half an hour during the day, and maybe 15 minutes during peak period. The other thing is the other thing I was going to mention.
Don't you hate to be live? Not live. Here we go. Yeah, maybe that's going to help. That's okay. Now you got the bus.
The other thing too is that
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
what about the cops? You happy with the police force? I tackled the mayor on this one. The RCMP. Should we have the RCMP here in the city?
Well, I think it depends. On the one hand, it depends in terms of cost. But I think more importantly, we have a police service that works pretty well for us right now.
I'm sorry,
It works very well for us most of the time. It's there when we need it to provide public safety. I'd have some questions, obviously, about some other issues. Some of which involve things like third-party ticketing and things like this.
That was dismissed today.
Try to understand why that's
But the
done.
police are doing a good job to keep the city safe.
Yeah, I think it's a very safe community for the most part.
Did I just say that? Yeah. Okay, but that's
It's a safe community. One of the things, though, that in terms of public safety that I think needs to be looked at is the kind of low-level vandalism that you see in Fredericton. So people knocking over the post office boxes or graffitiing businesses and stuff like that. I think that there's a police response to that, but I think there are other types of responses as well. So if we understood, as a sociologist, if we understood kind of who's doing this and what are the motivations, perhaps we could engage, probably young people, we could engage them in other forms, other more constructive activities. Graffiti is an art form. A lot of people in the city might not see it that way, but graffiti is an art form. If we provided space where people could express themselves legitimately.
They tried that, I think, yeah? St. John, is it?
Yeah, well, they've tried it in a number of places, and I think we should expand spaces where that can happen here.
You got an opinion on the woodlot, UNB?
The woodlot. Yeah, I think that there are some risks of developing the woodlot given heavy rainfall events and the possibility of flooding that will cause, and that needs to be looked at very, very carefully.
You happy with the mayor response on shale gas?
Pardon me?
You happy on the mayor response
The
on
mayor's
shale
response
gas?
on
The
shale
mayor,
gas.
of course,
Yeah.
he says, my word is good. There'll be no shale gas in the city.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed actually with the way that was handled. I think that other municipalities, Sackville in particular, took a more proactive stance in trying to get different cities, different municipalities in New Brunswick to say that there were real problems with developing shale gas, and there would be here in Fredericton too. I think given the risks associated with the industry at this particular moment in time, and what we know the benefits would be, the economic benefits, that there's not much point in going forward with this. And I mean, it will have an impact on Fredericton in terms of air quality, and it could have an impact in terms of water quality too. So what the mayor said was that there would be no fracking within Fredericton city limits. Well, that's all good and great, but the aquifer that we draw our water from extends beyond Fredericton, and more importantly, the fracking technology actually drills sideways, and they're continuously. One of the things that makes these wells more productive is to extend the amount of the number of kilometers that you can drill sideways. So I think right now they're up to about 1.5, 2 kilometers, and they're working towards 3 and 4 kilometers. So they could conceivably be drilling in Peniac and nonetheless be drilling under the north side eventually. I mean, that's
so we need to say no.
I think we should be taking a more proactive role. I think that we should be looking at what other municipalities, what positions they're taking, and we should be supporting what's going on in the region.
Is there any pollution coming up from that stack, UNB?
That, to my knowledge, is I'm not very familiar with what goes on there. But yeah, that's not there's not a lot of industrial waste basically in Fredericton. That's not a major cause of pollution, and it doesn't affect air quality. We have great air quality here.
Beautiful.
And I think we should be really careful about what we could be entering into, because we could be entering a period in history in which our air quality is diminished.
So well said. We'll leave it at that.